What's up, Ash? Are you ready to do this? I actually accidentally started streaming already, so hopefully we're ready to go. I just wanted to discuss today maybe making a full-time income part-time like you do, maybe a little bit interview style. But before we get into the content, maybe you can tell people where they can find you online.
Yeah, for sure. You guys can find me on YouTube, Hustle at Home Mom, and Instagram mostly. That's kind of where I've been active. And I just share whatever it is that I do, whatever this job is that I've invented, well, not invented, created for myself. It's really the perfect job. I really do love doing what I do because it's part-time. It fits in with my kids' schedule. I'm a busy mom, as I know a lot of you are busy parents, and I love that I'm able to do things on my own time, on my own schedule, and still make enough profit that I'm making more than I would full-time. So as a full-time regular employee, as a school counselor, that's what I went to school for. And once I became a stay-at-home mom, I was like, wait, I don't really want to leave my kids all day if I don't have to. So yeah, I just chose trying to sell people's garbage online, and it's working out.
I love it. As Scavenger Life would say, trash, we're trash elves.
Yeah.
Uh, so I love this conversation because you're making a full-time living essentially just weekends and nights. And I feel like a lot of people are in that situation. And thank you again for taking the time to do this coaching. And for everyone that has questions, please put them in the chat and then we'll go over those as well. But maybe let's start with like what's a week in the life look like? How do you arrange your day?
Yeah, for sure. So you're right. We do a lot of weekend and night, early morning, squeezing in business around kids, around family. Luckily, I mean, as of right now, my kids are in school 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and then we do homeschool Friday. That's just the way our district is doing it. This is the first time that my kids have both been in all day school. Last year, my youngest was still in kindergarten, so I still kind of had a broken up day. So I'm able to accomplish a lot more right now. So my schedule definitely looks a little different than it did. So I can kind of go over what it's like now versus what I was doing maybe when I had less time and when they were in preschool.
Yeah, let's
But
talk
right
about.
now I get up, I go running. That's kind of my start to the day, although today was a much slower start to the day than usual. I go running. It's good for me, my mental health. I get out. I just pound out some frustration. And then I get home and I get the kids to school. My husband and I have a deal where I get the kids to school, he puts them to bed. It's like our trade-off. So once I do that, I try to get up before I go run and do my shipping. But if I'm not able to accomplish that, then I try to just do it first thing as soon as the kids are at school. Half hour, get all my packages out the door, and I have package pickup. So I schedule USPS every day, and the postal worker comes to my house and picks up my packages, which has been like a huge time saver. Our neighborhood used to not offer that, so I'm glad that USPS does that now. And then I just tackle listings, organizing, bookkeeping, kind of whatever's on the agenda for the day. I also try to juggle YouTube content and Amazon FBA. So it just kind of depends on the day. I wish I could say I had every minute scheduled really perfectly. I don't currently, but I do make a list of what I need to accomplish that day and I just tackle that list. So some days it looks like, hey, let's get a ton of photographs done and ready and some drafts going for the week. Some days it's, this Amazon pile is staring me in the face and I really need to get this processed and off to Amazon. And then some days it's I've got to get this YouTube video edited, and that takes, I don't know, Chris, I know you don't really edit your videos that much, but editing takes a long time. So that's a journey. And I'll just tackle that. And then usually around lunchtime, I take, my husband works from home as well. So we eat some lunch together. And then uh, that's when I take my break for the day. I am pregnant with my third
So
child and I'm 100,000 years old. So I'm a little tired this go around. So I've scheduled a break for myself midday. But then if I haven't gotten my tasks done that I needed to get done that day, or if I have a little bit of energy towards the end of the day in the evening, I'll finish up a video or finish up some listings. So usually though, I try to get everything done in the day so that I can have the evening off. That wasn't a luxury that I had when my kids were in preschool though, and in half day kindergarten. because it was so brief during the week. So I would use those few limited hours to do what I needed to do, as far as photographing or sourcing, usually because it's really hard to go to a thrift store or garage sales with your kids. So I tried to get that out of the way when the kids were gone, and then I would list in the evening or early in the morning or during quiet time, nap time. So it was much more of a juggle then versus now, for sure. It's been very eye-opening to see how much time I have when the kids are in school.
So how do you start something that's completely different than the previous thing? Like going from making a YouTube video to doing a box for FBA is like, are you some kind of robot? How do you switch gears like that? That's totally different.
Probably part undiagnosed ADHD, part I like tackling, juggling different things.
Mm,
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question. I just, once I'm done, like I have to definitely finish a task before I start. So once I have an Amazon box done, like if I haven't had my YouTube video up for the week or a couple of weeks, then I know I need to work on that. But yeah, I think as a mom too, as a parent, you're always changing hats all the time. Like I go
yeah.
from watching the kids, taking them on a bike ride, doing homework, cooking a meal, going grocery shopping, planning a date with my husband, back to work. Like we're just always multitasking. So I guess it's just old hat at this point.
Are you completing the whole thing like an entire shipment and then planning an entire video? Do you do it is that how the block is arranged?
I usually film when I look like a human being. So
Okay.
today, for example, I got ready and I did my hair. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, now I can do a video this afternoon. I have that on a schedule because like I try to like definitely chunk in when I've gotten ready for the day.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I do a whole shipment usually. Yeah, like with Amazon, I use Inventory Lab and it's really easy to just fill up a box and get one box out. I try to at least do one box at a time. Or one with Inventory Lab too, you can open up multiple um, like shipments, shipment preps. And so sometimes, like right now, I'm working on a really big Amazon shipment of very small things that's taking me a long time. So I'm going to also open up a second shipment. I did this before, like last week, of clothing items that I had in bulk that I'm now that I shipped off to Amazon. So I have like a bunch of shoes that need to get to Amazon and these smaller items. But I do try to get a box ready. And my goal is that if I can get it done that day, my husband can take it to UPS because he's not scared of the employees there, and I kind of am. So he'll take that bullet for me if I hurry and get it done. So that's been really nice.
I love it. So, someone in the chat, and a lot of people are in this situation. Andrew wants to start an eBay store after his wedding. What are the first things that you would do before you start an eBay store?
Hmm. That is a great gosh, would you do anything? Okay, well, it depends on like how serious you want to take it. If you're going
Mhm,
all in, you're like, this is going to be a real thing, get a business bank account right away and set up a separate separate card, separate everything for your business.
mhm,
Just save yourself from the time and the stress of then going through your personal transactions and pulling out everything that's business related. You will
mhm,
want to die. So hurry and do that. And also if you are, I would say if you're like, all right, I'm going to take this seriously, then yeah, get an LLC or set yourself up with an LLC, an EIN, a reseller's tax license. That's been so handy, you know, especially as I've been making bulk purchases. I don't want to pay that
mhm.
extra 7% or whatever sales tax. And I don't because I have the reseller's tax license. So that's something else that I would start thinking about. I have found that though, that like if that holds you up and holds you back from just starting, it's better to just start. Except for maybe the business bank account. I would say definitely don't start without that. But that takes just a few minutes at the bank. I even took my kids with me. They're, you know, when they were 2 and maybe 1, I think at the time 3 and 1, and they just ate lollipops while I opened up my business bank account. It was totally easy. So you can do
Mhm.
that in an afternoon, and then it's really from there, just get to a thrift store, list one thing, just, or no, don't even go to a thrift store. Look around your house and there's plenty you can sell and just start. Just start and you won't know what you're doing and the titles will be wrong and the keywords will be wrong. But you just start and you get a feel from it from there.
You taught me something really amazing, which is when you're busy, because when your kids were little, you were just building the foundation of learning these different platforms. And sometimes you can't work on listing, but you can learn how the platform works. Somebody in the chat put, I recommend reviewing eBay's rules and regulations as you learn. I recommend that too, because if you think about it long term, you don't have to beat yourself up for not having, like, over the course of 10 years, you'll probably find time.
Right.
Maybe not right
Exactly.
now. Mhm.
Exactly. You're building just little bricks to help support that foundation that I'm only now seeing the fruits of my labors because I'm building on what I've already created and it's just growing and growing and growing right now this year. And I'm so grateful that and I also am glad I wasn't like hard on myself or too hard on myself in the beginning. You look around and you see really astronomical numbers. And as you
Mhm.
know, especially when you have little kids at home, I don't know if anyone else is hard on themselves. I can be hard on myself. I'm like, I'm not doing enough, or why am I not successful? No, no, no. You are doing just what you need to do, and the time will come that you'll have more energy and more availability for your business to grow it and build it. And like Chris, like you've said before, you can't fix your family. You can fix your business. It's really hard to fix your family. So it's okay to make that a priority in the beginning. And we're even to the point where, yeah, it's growing so much that I'm like, hey, to my husband, what if we just thought about doing this, together? And that could change our lives forever. So yeah.
Simone in the chat is asking if there's any advice for Canadians who resell. Every country reselling the actual concept is the same. There's different shipping, there's different taxes, but reselling in Iceland is still finding something underpriced, describing it the best you can, and then trying to find a customer.
Right. And there's a lot of Canadian resellers on Instagram that I love following, like Loretta Thrift Love Sell. She's from Canada
Mhm.
and she's killing
Mhm.
it. So there's a lot of people making it work. I know there's different hurdles though to get through. I know shipping can be an obstacle, but I guess
And a
there's
lot
ways
of
to make it
Canadians
work.
sell on ebay.com and not ebay.ca. So it depends where you are. I know I saw a seller that was just selling Trader Joe's goods in Canada because they don't have it there. There are different rules and regulations, and obviously, like Lululemon, I know a seller in Vancouver. She only sells Lululemon, and she's like the community up there. There's different groups, and again, there's different platforms. I know their Craigslist is called something different, like Gumtree. So I think specifically, I would say definitely follow Thrift Love Sell Loretta. She knows a ton.
Yeah, she does for sure. But you're right. The basic concept is the same. You find something cheap and you sell it for more and then you repeat.
So this is an interesting question from 5K Boxing TV. You have to have 3 or 4 incomes to make it on eBay. I think this is I don't necessarily agree with this, but right now there's a lot of people with a blended income where they have 4 or 5 streams of income coming in, and you and I are no different. We have blended incomes.
Right, exactly. Really, the more incomes you can bring in, gosh, why not? And YouTube is an income, and Amazon's an income. My husband's job is an income. Anything I make affiliate wise is an income. These are all things that do contribute to our family's finances. And it is hard to rely on just one income, I would say. But I
So
would
I
say
have
that
to,
eBay also
but
is that money printing machine. That's your cash flow for anything else you want to fund or put money into. I think it's a great place to just start really seeing your money grow.
so I want to clarify the Patreon because some people in the chat are complaining that it's confusing, and it is. So I apologize. For $35 a month, you get all of the coaches. So Ashley does this same call every week on Thursdays at noon. If you want to support her tier, which I recommend you do it, sign up at patreon.com/the resellers podcast under Ashley's tier, and you get all of the other coaching calls included. But specifically, Ashley's focusing on creating an income with a family, and it's definitely a different approach than myself. I'm doing this full time. Our days look totally different. There's different challenges, and that's so I know it's confusing. I'll make a video, but essentially all of the tiers are the same. You get all of the coaches for the same price. So let's see here. Oh, it's Kijiji is the local And Thrift Beast CQ is in the chat. That's another Canadian reseller to follow. So I think it's it's so hard for me to look at, like, there's definitely people who make a full-time living just YouTube, just eBay, but I don't know. I feel like I have a DM from you in 2016 where you say, should I start a YouTube channel? We're not even, that's only 5 years ago.
Right.
You didn't even have a channel at that time.
Right. No, exactly. But I saw, like, once I joined the Instagram community and saw like Reezy was a huge inspiration. I think you and I
Yep.
kind of started our channels at the same time. And I thought, gosh, this would be cool if I could get these multiple streams. Because what's nice is, I don't know, when you're doing your own thing and you're running your own business and you are your own, I don't know, brand, or you're finding things yourself, it is a little risky to have every egg in one basket. Like, I only sell on eBay. That would be kind of, gosh, what if something happened? Heaven forbid you get your account shut down or something crazy happens. It's just, I feel like it's a little, at least if that happened, I could, like, all right, I'm going all in with Amazon, or I'll put up more YouTube content. I can, like, use those extra streams to fill in for a while. It just feels a little more comforting, but you are at the same time spreading yourself a little thin and trying to juggle a lot of things. But I kind of like it that way. Do you feel that way, Chris?
I do, but since I feel like this group is the mastermind genius of tech and sports, and he is the king of adding on income streams without losing the previous stream. And
Right.
you have done a good job with that because you're still sending a box. All of the platforms you sell on are still alive. You make
Some by
YouTube
a
videos, you
thread,
post stuff on
sure.
them.
No, like, they are good. Amazon took me a minute. I stepped back from Amazon to figure out how I was going to approach it in a more profitable way. And also a way that I wasn't chasing bolos all the time. I just can't handle that. I tried it and it's just hard with your kids. It became like, instead of taking them to the park, we're going to head to a Walmart 2 hours away and see if I can snatch up the last whatever of these, which is fine. I mean, if you have the time, you have a van and you can do that, that's amazing. There's people who make a killing. But for me, it wasn't working. And so I had to step back from Amazon and think, okay, let me regroup and figure out what I'm sending in. Now I'm much more confident in what I'm doing. A lot of that is thanks to Jack. If you guys aren't watching Jack's coaching calls, he's
Mhm.
incredible. A lot of inspiration from him, a lot of motivation from the group, really, just to expand my horizons and try some new things. And I'm so grateful that I have, because I think I finally figured out some things with Amazon that are going to work. Knock on wood. You never know with Amazon, but yeah.
I think this is really important. It's something that you address on your channel. And Greg sent the super chat of $5 saying, Ashley, you're very open about mental health on your channel. Any tips on staying on track and staying motivated while juggling mental health?
Oh yeah. Gosh, it's so important. And I feel like it's not, it can appear like weak to talk about, or like vulnerable. People sometimes share like, it's brave to be vulnerable. And I'm like, I just don't, this is just who I am. This is just, I'm too open. I'm too open sometimes. But it's really, that was my whole degree, 7 years, including graduate school of psychology. So it's really important to me to really keep track of my mental health. How am I doing? Check in with myself. Am I using defeatist behaviors? And am I also giving in to feelings that I know will not make me happy in the long run, feelings of anxiety, or letting myself crash and burn and then not wanting to approach business again or whatever. I mean, it really takes, like, it's like a mental checklist. Keep your mental health safe. Really, exercise helps me. I like, Chris, you're a runner too. It just helps. That is a great help. Enough sleep. Make sure that you're taking some time for yourself in the day to, like, do something you enjoy. For me, it's a good meal, like with no one around, and watching a dumb show or something, or YouTube, just for like even a minute, just to like reset. But I also know that some of those mental health um, pitfalls of, you start to lack motivation, or it's hard to get out of bed, it's hard to keep going. Your brain, or the sick part, or the part that isn't you, will tell you, you just stay in bed, just give it up. It doesn't matter. This doesn't make you happy. You just need to rest. And that's kind of not a good sign when that's happening for a long time. And it doesn't make you feel better and it doesn't make you feel happier. And one thing I do know is that staying busy helps me stay happier and staying active and staying working towards a goal. These are all really healthy things, and really it comes down to if you're finding yourself unable to complete your daily tasks, if your friends, your family are noticing that you're not yourself, you're dipping down again, it's hard for you to do the daily things. There is absolutely no shame in seeing a counselor. I've touched base with my counselor many times, throughout the ups and downs of life. I spent 2 years in counseling in my early 20s and it was life changing. So please go take care of your mental health. It is worth it. And like it just, at the same time too, I feel like overworking and overstressing and overdoing the business can also be a sign that something's wrong. So there's a healthy balance for all of us. But yeah, get help. There is no shame. It's a really healthy thing to do.
I've learned a lot about mental health from you because there's seasons. I think you recognize that more than a lot of resellers I know. You can go hard sometimes. Sometimes you're taking December off. It depends, that's potentially the busiest time for resellers. So the ultimate wealth is being able to determine your own schedule.
Hmm.
And you also talk about the mental health of knowing you could be independent, because
Uh-huh.
that's also huge too. Feeling like you're dependent on your spouse can be debilitating for a lot of people.
Sure. And yeah, like I taking December off has created memories for me and my family that will never be replaced by any amount of success. And if I've done my job correctly anyway,
Mhm.
I've sent in enough stuff to Amazon that I'm good to go. And it's not really that stressful. I'm still making sales. But yeah, it's just we have been able to do so many fun things. But usually my husband has saved up enough vacation days to take a lot of December off as well. So it's been so great. And I just no amount of sales that month would have been worth it to me, I think, to like, and even eBay things kind of slow down in December for used clothing. So I'm like, well, this is just fine. It just is what worked out for me. I've had seasons where I've just needed to take some time after deaths of my siblings or, you know, things, chaos, drama. My son broke his leg. Like things just happen. And why would I beat myself up for taking some time? That's just very healthy, right? And you're right. Like I need to do something and build something myself. And I realized that very soon after becoming a stay-at-home mom. I thought that's all I'd want to do. I thought it would be so great. And I don't know if it's a trauma response maybe, but because my husband's the most reliable person in the world. He's so consistent. He's so wonderful. But I just was like, I can't do this. I need to do something. I was like going crazy. So yeah, you just have to, it's so good and healthy to stay in tune with what you need and it can work. I hope moms know, especially it can work. Feels impossible sometimes, but if you do want this, it can absolutely work and fit your life. You have to make a few sacrifices, but down the road, now that my kids are in school, gosh, it's just such a blessing to have something I can do at home.
So I have a tiny bit of a personal question. You don't have to answer if you don't have to, but we're both from Utah. We both grew up in a restaurant business. Do
Yes.
you think do you think having that restaurant background affects how you just tackle things? Because you sell anything, and I feel like that's from car parts to craft stuff to clothing
To
on
HIV
all.
test kits.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just jump in there.
Yeah. I mean, the restaurant business is so interesting. It's so, unless you have been in it, it's so hard to explain how hard it is. It is so exhausting to the point where you are aching from head to toe, especially when it was just our little family running the business. And I had, as a server, 12 tables at once. Like that's just what we did. And there were no days off. Like there were no options of like, I'm not feeling well. I could literally never say to my mom and dad, I need a mental health day. What? Get out there. Excuse me. So that, I don't know if that, again, maybe it's a trauma response, but yeah, I do jump into things very easily and without thinking. And I think that's a good in a sense because very little scares me. And it did teach me hard work. Like from the age of 16 to 24 is how long I worked there, 23. And it taught me really hard work, in that when you are just bone tired and you still have to serve, the dinner shift, you can do it. You will do it. It'll be okay. You won't die. And that taught me an important lesson. So I'm, it was not the best years of my life, but it did teach me hard work, and it taught me not to fear very many things.
I have that in all of my job descriptions that if you've worked quick serve before, then this is way easier.
Way easier. Way easier. Yeah, serving. Did you wait tables, Chris? Like, what was your main job?
Waiting tables,
Waiting
busing.
tables and busing. Oh, and it's just back aching, foot aching work, right?
Yeah, we had 13 tables and only one server. So I mean, all of it is one person. And in the family business, you get to see your parents work 16-hour days. And then I've definitely never worked a day in my life as hard as they did every day. Because running a restaurant is even worse.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it's like and I try, this is like the best analogy is, if you've ever thrown a big dinner party, or maybe you helped cook the food for like one of your cousins or siblings weddings, okay, and like you make all the food, you clean it up, you set up, like all of that, and at the end of the day, you know how like you're like, I will literally never do that again. I hate life. I hate this. That's how you feel every day.
I
Every
know.
day is a dinner party that you don't want to throw. So that's like how I felt at the restaurant. But I got to meet some really cool people, and there were some really nice people, and I was also like absolutely terrified of social situations. So I was the most shy. I didn't talk to people. I was painfully shy. And then I was told, you're going to have to go wait on tables now. I was terrified, terrified. But then I also, it was like exposure therapy. I just went out. When
Mhm.
you have to do it, you just do it. So that actually, I think, broke me out of my shell. There's no way I would have had a YouTube channel if I didn't do that. I'm only seeing now the benefits of having all that hard work and that exposure, and those hard things happen. And now I want my kids to serve at restaurants. If I'm going to make them get a job, you learn so much at a restaurant. So I want them to have that experience too. They'll hate me. They'll thank me later.
Yeah, my daughter is due in 3 weeks. I hope she works at a quick serve because you learn processes, you learn how to deal with angry people.
Oh yeah.
All of that is in there.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. You learn not to feel rejection when they give you a 3 penny tip. You're like, all
yeah,
right,
no rejection.
and yeah, whatever. About now, that's like that was my prep for YouTube comments, and I just didn't even realize it at the time. Now it
That's right.
bounces right off. I'm used to this.
So there's a few people in the chat asking about garage sales. You have a garage sale guide. Maybe we can give some tips on how you approach garage sales the day before. I think that's how does the master plan work?
Absolutely. Yep. It is like, I think sometimes people envision, oh, I can just go out on a Saturday and just sniff around at some signs and see what's going on. No, no, no. It is like in a beautiful mind, you have like maps and pins and strings, and I'm like figuring out where I'm going first. Like it's definitely a detailed process. I start with the local classifieds that, like, every local newspaper has like an online website with classifieds you can post online. That's where I look first. And I just look through every single one. It takes like an hour or two, and I go through all of them. I write down the best ones, the ones that look like multifamily, neighborhood. I love, church sales, rummage sales, anything where there's a lot of people and a lot of items. You're going to have a lot of success. So, like, for example, there was one where they hosted like a flea market garage sale type thing at a mall parking lot. And so I was there, did really well. It was a great day. And then neighborhood yard sales, we have a community yard sale every year, twice a year usually. And that one I make my husband go to because it's usually very good. Um, I stay away from single family yard sales, baby items, anything where I'm going to have to drive out a lot. And I try to map it so that I'm starting at 7, earliest one. And the biggest key is to be the first one there and early, and just be really nice. Be early, be happy, Just talk to them, be chatty if you need to, or if they don't want you to be chatty, just go. And the best stuff gets taken extremely fast. So that's why part of my map is getting there at 6:45, even 7 o'clock. Then I'm hurrying to get to the next one that starts at 7:30. So I'm mapping my day so that I'm the first one there at the 7 o'clock ones, the 7:30 ones, the 8 o'clock ones, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And that has helped me get a lot of really good stuff. I'll also on my map have surrounding yard sales. So let's say I go to the 7 a.m. one that I thought would be good. It wasn't good. I have plenty on my map and on my list that I can either use Google Maps to pin, or I can just literally write it down on a sheet of paper, and I'll just go to the next one. Okay, that was a bust. When I'm writing down a yard sale that I want to go to at that specific time and the address, I write down some keywords of what was there or what they advertised. Lots of books or video games, lots of electronics, or lots of designer clothes. If they mention Nordstrom, if they mention name brand clothes, that's usually a good sign, and I'll head there. I know also electronics go really fast. So those are the ones where I am there first. If if I see a nearby one that starts at the same time but it has a lot of clothing, I don't mind going to that one second, because not everyone else has a the
Clothing machine.
brand knowledge that we do as eBay
Yep.
resellers, right?
Yep.
So that's it's really just important though to map out your day. I do go to certain neighborhoods that are a little bit higher income. You tend to find a little bit better stuff there. Like I have certain areas that I do like going to, and I think yeah, the biggest things are just be early and hit up as many as you can. Do not dawdle. Do not linger. Don't be too chatty at the end. Get in, get out, get your stuff, move on to the next one, pack a snack because you'll be starving halfway through.
Very
And it's
smart.
great. It's a really when I did that, and that was my only time, during the summer to get inventory with my kids at home. It was perfect because I got everything on Saturday morning, organized it, sorted it, put it in my office, and then
Mhm.
throughout the week I would just list it. Then I just went out again the next Saturday. It was perfect with the kids. I didn't have to take them along or have my husband watch them. He was working. So it works out great. And for pennies, you're spending $400 maybe max on a Saturday, and you're getting just thousands of dollars worth of items. It was a
Do you
great way
try
to
to
grow.
do you try to pay cashless like Venmo, or do you bring cash?
I bring cash, and my accountant says that the ATM receipt is enough for them to see as
Yeah.
evidence. And if you go home and itemize and just write down, okay, I got 50 pieces of clothing, I got this many video games, whatever. My husband
Yep.
will do that. He'll pull out the MacBook and he'll start with a spreadsheet and he'll say, okay, what did you get? What did you pay? That's more than enough evidence for the IRS to know. They don't need a handwritten receipt. You don't need to write anything like that.
The ATM withdrawals really do help because I have to
Yeah.
do that at the flea market as well. And I do have a basic receipt, but they're looking for in and out. So
Exactly, yeah. It's just and it's almost too per although occasionally I have liked the Venmo or PayPal system when I'm dealing with somebody who gets a lot of stuff,
mhm.
because then I can like contact them again later and be like, "Hey, I bought a lot of this from you. Do you have any more of that?" And sometimes it's been really good. And they've been like, "Oh yeah, I have more of these. You can come get them." So there's a benefit to that, but most of the time, yeah, it's cash.
So there's a few people in the chat asking about estate sales. Is that something that you take a look at?
Estate sales can be tricky. Usually they're pricing high.
Hmm.
I don't find the best things at estate sales unless I know the people who do the estate sales, and I've gotten to know a few of the companies around me,
Mhm.
and they will negotiate with me. They're like, "I know you." And so I'll just tell them, "Look, I can't their ticket prices are insane." I
Right.
think that's because they're used to people coming in and getting a few things and
Yeah,
going. They're not used
definitely.
to me and my yard-sized garbage bags that I'm piling stuff into. So I'll just say that's where, like, if I know the company that's running it, I'll say, I would love to do business with you. What can we do to make this work?" And they're usually willing to come down by at least half, which is great. So estate sales can be good. They're not my favorite, but they can be really good. I prefer yard sales and garage sales, I think.
I would say, let's talk about bundling. How do you make a pile? Do you bring an IKEA bag and fill it up? How do you approach bundling items?
Sometimes, well, I don't want to be, I'm never shady. And that's like one thing I have to be so
Mhm.
careful about, because I know later people might find me on YouTube or something. I mean, I doubt it, but maybe, and be like, wait, she ripped me off. Like, and I don't want anyone to think about that. I want them to have a good experience with me. So I pull out everything I'm buying and I let them know, unless it's like all clothing, I'm fine doing that. I'm fine piling all my clothing and saying, I have all this clothing that you seem to be pricing about the same.
Mm,
And a lot of times that that's their intention, is fill a bag and pay whatever.
gotcha.
But I do always show people what I'm buying, and then I don't like pennying down. If it's a reasonable price and I can make a profit, I'll pay it.
Yeah,
And I'm fine with that. I believe in karma. I'm like, good karma. I don't, if someone's charging $5 for a shirt, I'm not going to be like four. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's silly. So, yeah, that's what I try to do.
I agree with you. They will never give you the other stuff that's not listed to you if you're like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to make it a positive experience with them.
Hmm. I've seen people do that. They put some clothing on top of a Bose stereo, and then the owner's like looking through, like, oh, what's this at the bottom of the pile? So I mean, you definitely, that is no
No,
good. Don't do
that's
that.
what the bad guy did in Toy Story 2. And I'm like, I'm not that guy. So, and as I watch that with my kids, they're like, Mommy, you go to garage sales. I'm like, I'm not him. I don't do that. So that turned me off.
So thank you for Tara in the chat, reminding us about Jack. You can find him on Instagram at Video Game Sourcing. He's also one of the coaches of this group, and he coaches on Fridays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we have people who can help with Amazon. And I think back to that mental health note, since we started this group, my mental health has been a lot easier, because when you see everybody else just moving and momentum. And last week's recording, when you mentioned that you can't sit down because it's a wrap if you stop the momentum at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I just made me think that's really important, because there's that moment of truth. You get home at the end of the day, or you're just finished cleaning up from dinner. If you want to get stuff done but you sit down, I think it's over.
Oh, the motivation melts right out of you. And that's where the 5 second rule kind of can come in
Yep.
handy. You know, Mel Robbins, just 5 4 3 2 1, get up. And it's just so much harder if you sit down. It's much more rewarding too to sit down after I know my tasks are done. Then it's like a treat, because I'm like, all right, house is clean, kids are in bed, videos up, or boxes are shipped off. I'll feel like, all right, I've earned this. Whereas if I haven't really, it's not even that enjoyable. So that's what I try to do.
I saw this guy post that 5 4 3 2 1 was too long, so he shortened it to 3 2 1,
That's
because
good.
like, because 5 seconds is, he was too lazy to even start moving if he waited 5 seconds.
That's me. So 5 seconds is a long time for me to talk myself out of something.
Exactly. You just got to
I,
sit up and do it.
I see a question here that, do I use like the yard sale treasure map app?
Mm,
I don't like it as much. It pulls from Craigslist and it doesn't have as many details as I'm looking for usually. A lot of times it'll just say this house, this address, this time. And I'm like, well, you got to tell me more. So it's good, I guess, in a pinch if I'm like already in that area and I'm like, oh, let's check it. But I find much more success with Facebook yard sale groups and the local classifieds website.
and sometimes you get lucky and you find a garage sale that's not posted. I have
Is
occasionally
that
read
luck?
that.
So okay, I guess my theory is, if I've done all this work to create the map,
Yeah.
I'm not going to deviate from that, because when I
Mm,
do, it's just a gamble and I
yeah.
don't know what they're offering. It could be just baby toys, and then I'm like, dang it, I'm off schedule now. So I
Yeah.
would say, unless it's like right next door, I would
Mhm.
stick to your plan and stick to your map. Or if it's the end of the day and it's 9 9:30 and you've hit all the good ones, yeah, you can wander around, but I would advise sticking to the map.
So you go Saturday, you get your stuff, you come home. How long does it usually take you to get it listed?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not usually listing on Saturday because I'm with the kids, and after I get back, we try to do like a family activity. But
Mm-hmm.
during the week, I'll just list, 20 items here, 10 items here. I do try to, if I have time, or if my husband can take the kids out or do something fun, I'll bulk photograph. And so that'll take an hour or two to get everything photographed. And then the rest can go up to my office. That's a really big, if I get that done, I feel really accomplished, because then all I have to do is airdrop it to my computer and then list throughout the week. But it's a few hours. If It just depends on what it is. But if I've gotten a lot of clothing and shoes, yeah, I'd say a few hours to list it all, but not too bad.
So Taylor Exchange is asking, the sales posted at 7. Do you ever roll up there at 6?
Oh yeah. If it's a good one, yes. And I'll see other people there. In
Yeah.
fact, I rolled up to one that started, they said it started at 8. I went there at 7 because it like looked amazing. And there was like another person there. And by the time I was done, I had a full yard size garbage bag full. And I saw somebody, I crossed paths as I was going to my car with someone who recognized me and was like, uh-oh. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I think I got like everything here, but it was because I was way early. Most people are cool with that unless they have a no early birds thing. Then I'll try to respect that and not be a jerk.
Yeah.
But I'll be there at least 5 minutes early because it's just that fast. I mean, when I've been there even 1 minute late, 2 minutes late, I'll see a guy walking out with all the video games, and I'm like, son of a gun. So yeah, you got to be on time, and you have to be like not afraid to like be annoying. If you're like that early one, just a big smile. How's it going? You know, and hopefully I don't look too threatening. But yeah, early is good.
Part-time picker is in my neighborhood, and I went to a garage sale with him, and I was like, "Is it too late?" And he's like, "It's too late. You already got everything at that sale." So it depends. You have to, especially in your area, just when you start recognizing the people at garage sales, that means you've learned the skill of finding the good ones.
Oh yeah, totally. And I've seen the same person a few times at these yard sales, and he's so nice.
Yeah.
And like we just chat for a minute about reselling, and like occasionally, either he'll come late and I'll have been there. When
Mhm.
someone was selling their eBay store to me and I got to cherry pick their eBay store and got a ton of great stuff, he came at the end. I was early to that one. And like we just chatted for a bit. He was super nice though. He didn't care. He was happy for me. And then I arrived at another one another week, and he was there first and he was getting some good stuff. So yeah, it's you start to like see the regular pickers out there, and it's actually kind of fun. It's like a little nod, a little wink. You know each other.
And if this is hard to pull off, but you can network and sell things that you don't want to sell to another reseller and vice versa. I have a couple of those deals set up.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. Not a lot of men like to list women's clothing, I've noticed. So that's something I'll be like, I'll take that off your hands. No worries. And that's something also that, they'll pick through something else. Like I think they'll pick out that one guy picked out like a new board game, which was good. I was like, dang it. But like board games and things that are a little bit, you know, I don't know, that he was maybe more familiar with. And I was the one who was getting like the Rag and Bone and the Eileen Fisher and the Free People and the stuff like that. That was like, I know this will sell for me.
Mona is asking about listing clothing with flaws. How do you approach that?
I list flawed things all day, every day. Holes, stains, I don't care. I'll try to get it out. I have a sewing kit here. I'll pull it out. Ta-da, that I use all the time. And I'll just list also I'll sew buttons on. I even have some buttons that I have at home that are like different colors that I can use to like pinch hit if there's a button missing. But even then, I'll list it for a discounted price. I list everything. I rarely, unless it's like already a $10 item to begin with, and then it has a stain on it, then I'm like, all right, I'll just say goodbye to that. But I would say list everything with flaws. People feel like they're getting a deal, and I think my flawed items might even sell faster than the whole items, to be honest.
100%. I bought a lot of mismatched shoes from Nordstrom because in California, it's illegal if somebody has two different size feet, you have to break apart two different pairs of shoes and sell left size 7 or right size 8. And then the
Oh,
company is just screwed because they have two mismatched shoes. So I bought a pallet of those from Nordstrom for $3 a pair, brand new, all of them. They sold so fast because people just want a deal and they don't care that they're mismatched. And
that's genius.
flawed goods sell like crazy because it's cheaper.
Exactly. I remember like getting home from a yard sale and I had a pair of bed stew shoes that were mismatched sizes. I was like, dang it. And I hadn't sold mismatched shoes before, but sure enough, it sold that day for like
Yeah,
35 bucks. I'm like, dang,
yeah,
okay. Like, yeah, people want to buy flawed. They want a deal. They want to feel like they've gotten a great deal. So they do that when it's like, oh yeah, I bought this cool Gucci coat and it had a flaw, but it was, I got it for such a cheap deal. People love that.
Have you ever tried to buy an item from someone after they just bought it at the sale? I've seen it. I've
Oh,
seen it.
I haven't. I haven't done that one yet. I should. I have chatted with people though, and that people have tried to buy from me, and I've been like, I'm good. No thanks. But yeah, like, but I haven't been that brazen yet. Maybe one day.
Have you held a yard sale yourself?
So we're actually not allowed to in our community.
Mm.
There's an HOA, so we can't do yard sales whenever we want here, except for the two approved days where they allow it. But usually
Mm.
that's when my husband and I are out, and we're both going to that our own community yard sale. But we're trying to avoid our little neighborhood because I don't want to, you know what, where I eat. So yeah, we don't do that. If I have something that I feel like I could yard sell anyway, I'd rather just put it in my eBay store at auction and just let the traffic help my store get some sales. I and then plus like I don't know, I go to so many yard sales that running my own sounds kind of frustrating. So and plus that
I
would be a
have
Saturday when I'm usually out. So can't afford it.
I think your top tip of being nice, I mean, not your top tip, but being nice is a top tip
Yeah.
because if you are nice, sometimes I've seen before somebody ask about something and it's not for sale, but then I ask about it and it's for sale.
Yes, yes.
I'm
Oh,
just nice.
yes. It pays to be nice, and it pays to talk about the game, and it pays to like if they're wearing a Utes shirt, I'm like, I'm a Utes fan today. Well, I'm always a Utes fan. They're wearing a BYU sweater, I'm a BYU fan today. That's so, did you catch the
Mhm.
game yesterday? Like, I'm and I think my husband always says this, he's like, people just give you good deals because you're a woman and you're a mom and you're not as scary. I'm like, well, maybe, but I go out of my way to try to be nice and not be a jerk. And a lot of times I think they don't a lot of times this happens. I'll be buying a ton of stuff and if usually if it's an older gentleman, they will be explaining to me, "Oh, this is a really nice item actually." And I'm like,
Mm.
"Mm, mm, really?" And then like he'll and then they sometimes try to like sell me on, I have this accessory or this other thing that I know isn't worth anything, and I'll just be like, no, I'm good with just the one. Um, so yeah, that happens too. Sometimes I always chuckle inside, and I'm like that Ron that Ron Swanson meme where he's like at Home Depot and they ask him if he needs help, and he's like, I know more than you. That's kind of how I feel at some of these yard sales, So, but only after going to thousands of them.
That's true. I think, if with a limited budget, there is no bigger bang per buck than garage sales. And just for a couple of bucks, you can make a few hundred on just Saturday.
Oh yeah. You'll make that's and Gary Vee talks about yard sales a lot too. It's just one of the best ways to just flip and make a profit and how easy it is. You can make an extra few thousand. Really, I could do enough in the summer, just the summer to take the rest of the year off and still make more than I did as a school counselor, which is really sad actually.
Really sad.
This is my business card. Someone's asking.
Hmm.
It's I need to redo it to be honest. It is corny and it is ridiculous, but it just says thank you for your business, has some clothes on it, and I just say I'll do anything to make it right. If you have an issue, I put my name on there. I'm gonna revamp this though. I do think it helps people. I my item not as described rate is very low, and it's thankfully because I do include stuff like that. I also put in sorry, I'll just turn these stickers too. I like these stickers. They're a little pricey on eBay. I don't know why they're so expensive, but it's just like a thank you for supporting my business. And I'll put this on the package too as I ship out. So yeah, that's what I do, and it's been pretty good so far. I try to make it a good package experience because I know there are people maybe in my audience who are buying from me, and I don't want them to be like gross, like this looks bad. So I use like a nice and these really crispy sounding cellophane bags are just kind of fresh and they feel nice. And I use like the eBay branded pad. I got these for free actually from an eBay worker who just was quitting his business and gave them to me. And then I also use the eBay branded mailers too. Yeah, so just I don't know. I try to make it a nice experience for people.
How did you get consignment customers?
just through Instagram. People will reach out to me, and I'm much pickier now. I think I used to kind of do it more, but I'm much pickier now because some people I think are just wanting to offload things that aren't selling for them. So
Hmm.
I have one who is very trusted. His name's Colin. He lives in Texas and he's an eBay seller. He has things, he just doesn't like to sell women's clothing. And so he will send me boxes every now and then of consignment items. He sent me a bunch of Tiffany jewelry. He sent me a ton of Iskander and like what else? Flax, plus size flax. That was like the best day. Linen tops and skirts and pants. So that was great. And what I'll do is I'll just, as I sell it, have a little skew, for my bin, and underneath I'll just put his name. So when it sells, I know to mark it on my spreadsheet, and then I'll go back and I'll pay him every month. And it's 50-50. We do 50-50. And I also locally, I don't do consignment locally, but I do have people I have connections with who I pay up for their items, but that's just because I don't want to hassle with consignment later. And when I do that, they're luxury items and they're good.
I just added this candor to my Rolodex. Um,
Yes.
I love looking at like you shared in a group, like a list of things that you normally look out for. And I feel like your reseller Rolodex is very strong. But I don't, I want people to be patient because you can't develop that immediately.
It takes time. It absolutely takes time. And I would just look at what other people were selling on Instagram, and I would just make a list and be weird and look at that list at night before bed. And I'd be like, okay, let's and I have a pretty good mental image memory of like I can remember images pretty well. So it took time though. I would say I'm still learning and I'm still growing. Another trick is if you don't want to look it up every time, well, you still have to look it up. Anything made with linen, 100% linen is great. Usually
Hmm.
things that are silk, things that are made not in China, but like maybe Italy or maybe Canada or the US, those can be good, but you just get used to it over time. And I've sold such a vast and random array of things that yeah, my mental Rolodex is pretty vast at this point, but I'm still learning and there's people who just know more. I mean, tech has an encyclopedic knowledge of all kinds of vintage that I'm still working on. I don't know vintage very well. And that's kind of what makes this really fun is you're always learning and you're always growing. There's always new brands to look out for. Sitka, I wasn't aware of Sitka until
Hmm.
I got it and it sold for $250. I'm like, okay, mental note, Sitka is good.
Yep.
So that's yeah, just this business can't be boring if you're always learning new fun brands.
So here's another question that's maybe a little off topic slightly, but Beer Money is asking, great username, by the way. Um, they want to start a YouTube channel. Do you have any tips for a new channel?
And Chris is the better one to ask about this. I will say this, like just content over quality. Just try to get as much content as you can out at first. And then I would say refine your quality. Really, the more you put out each week, the more you'll grow. And also to not be afraid of low views on certain videos, or if certain things aren't connecting, just take that as an education that I'm not connecting very well and I need to do better. I think that mentality helps me to keep going. Like, oh, hardly anyone viewed this video and I thought it was good. Well, they're just telling me with their views that that's not connecting and that that's not as interesting. So it gives you an opportunity to see what's working and then put your foot on the gas with that. So it just YouTube is a and I think YouTube honestly is probably 70% mental. Once you can get over the mental hurdle, you can do great with it. And I'm grateful for it. YouTube alone makes me a pretty decent income on its own. So I would say it's been a huge blessing, but it takes mental effort for sure.
I think it's for me, my wife gave me the advice of, can you do something for a whole year? So instead of, don't worry about if it sucks and no one watches you, but if you just do it for the whole year, it'll probably work. Because
That's
most
great
people
advice.
over time, same thing with reselling. If you consistently go to garage sales every weekend, you will get really lucky 2 or 3 weekends a year.
Yeah.
And I would be surprised if you didn't have a couple weekends where you made over $1,000 if you did it.
Oh my gosh, you guaranteed will.
Guaranteed would.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, if you
You
went.
could do that every weekend,
Yeah,
guaranteed.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I love that advice about YouTube though for a year. That's a great, expect a year of nothing. Expect a year of putting out lots of content and getting nothing back. And then like over time, like with Graham Stephan, with anybody, he was
Yeah.
thrilled to make $1 in a day.
Yep.
And then obviously now he's making insane money.
Yep.
But that's a good mentality to have too. Generous with knowledge, generous with your audience, answer comments, answer questions, go live if you can. That's still something I'm working on. Um, those are all, yeah, all good things. And I think
So
also real quick,
yeah.
my thoughts on this, I guess. I think your audience can tell if you're only doing it to earn money. If they can just see like they just want to get monetized as quickly as possible and they just want to make enough as quickly as possible, I feel
Yep.
like your audience can see that and they can read that. There has to be some authenticity there with I want to help people and put out valuable content. I think that comes across and the audience is more likely to connect with you.
Yeah. People don't start listening till they know you care.
Mhm.
And I would say everyone in the group, most of the resellers I've met genuinely want to help people because it doesn't actually make sense to teach your competition how to compete with you. But it's nice that there's so many people that if you're selling one-off items, it's just who is the best treasure hunter wins. So
Exactly.
um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so I want to be respectful of your time. This is the last question.
Okay.
Um, how do what do you do? Okay, this is kind of a selfish question. I'm going to modify somebody's thought. With this high-end designer items, do you think the eBay is the best platform for it? Are you
No.
worried about Vero also?
Yeah, no, you know what? I just started using the Real Real.
Yeah,
I've used them before, but I'm going a little bit heavier into it. And I think it's a much safer, better platform. I just feel more at ease. And on eBay, like if someone's looking for authentic luxury, I don't know that a lot of people are going to eBay for it. As much as eBay is trying to do authenticating and they're trying to do that like authentic tag, I just
yeah.
feel like places like the Real Real, or I know there was like ThredUp Lux, but I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
Hmm.
Places, yeah, other places are they're going to handle that $2,000 Christian Dior bag that I got
Yeah.
a lot better than. And then on eBay too, if they get returned, there's just a lot of things with luxury you gotta kind of worry about more. But when I just people go to the Real Real just to buy luxury, so you have just this big pool of people searching there for your items that are going to pay and be reliable. So I'm enjoying my experience with the Real. I just sent off a package today actually to the Real Real of some Zimmerman, newest tags Zimmerman, something I hadn't heard of before, some Jimmy
Mhm.
Choos, some Zach Posen, and I think it'll do well.
So last thought or I'm just going to piggyback on that thought with the Real Real. I have some insider knowledge. I have a friend that works for the Real Real. He's the lead of pricing. So he
Okay.
used to work with my wife at Gap and Old Navy, and he's the guy that prices stuff at Old Navy. So when you walk in, you leave with $100 full of stuff. So the pricing is really important. So the Real Real sells things on average 100% higher than eBay.
Wow.
Okay, so it's double. It's on purpose because when you price things properly, the perceived value goes really high. So they've designed it and advertised it so that it's more expensive on purpose, so people think it's authentic. There's a lot of mind games and mental games when you're trying to sell a luxury item that's used. You have to really know what you're doing because a lot of people who can afford luxury just buy brand new. So
Exactly.
you got to have the
That's
right
so
mentality.
interesting. And
Yeah,
it makes sense because you look at comps on the Real Real and it's so
yeah,
much higher than on
much higher.
eBay. And you're getting that consignment percentage, and yeah, they keep some of it, but gosh, to get it sold faster to a
Yeah,
more reliable customer and at a higher price, I don't know, it's worth it.
and they handle the returns.
They handle returns and they have a full list of everything that they accept. If you're curious, you can go to their the luxury brands that they will take, and they will like you
Yeah.
can just kind of sort through your stuff and just send it off. And I do think stuff sells faster there, and yeah, it's been good. But only with again with luxury. With the rest of the random stuff, I'll sell it on eBay and it does just fine.
So before we take off, why don't we remind people where they can find you? Also, actually, before I let you do that, everyone sign up for the Patreon group under Ashley's tier. You get all of the coaches included for 35 bucks per month. And if for some reason you don't see value, we'll give you your money back. But the Facebook group has been amazing, and Tech is our rock. All we have to do is just follow him, and all ships will rise with his tide. So now let's tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, honestly, if you sign up for Monica, Jack, just even if I'm the one that just brings you there, you really, the group has been unbelievably motivating for me selfishly, and to see the growth in the group and the knowledge that everyone's dropping and bringing. When you're surrounded by people who are dedicated to succeeding, you cannot help but succeed yourself. So it's been the best thing ever. Every week I do a call where we talk about a different topic. We do Q&A. We talk about real life, with little kids and how life can get crazy, pregnancy, all kinds of fun things. So if you are wanting to join and run a business from home while juggling many, many different things, I hope that I can at least, if not help you, I can commiserate with you. And you can find me on YouTube, on Instagram at Hustle at Home Mom. And that's where I just do some behind the scenes stuff and talk about my day, my business. YouTube is probably where I have more concrete things to look for, how I run my business, Q&A, how I avoid scams on eBay, all that good stuff is more on YouTube, and Instagram's kind of just for fun.
Love it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one.